Hello, I'm Dr. Beth Godey.
And I'm Dr. Martha Leatherman. I'm a geriatric specialist in psychiatry.
And I'm a neuropsychologist, and I specialize in aging.
We're experts in dementia care, and we're here to provide you some information and answer some questions that we hear very commonly about dementia and other issues in aging.
Well, we're talking about driving, and the last section we discussed the issues of the skills of driving. And in this section, we want to talk about how to take the keys away when you think a loved one ought not to be driving anymore. And as Dr. Leatherman said in the last section, driving is our symbol of independence and self-sufficiency. And so when you're taking away someone's ability to drive, that's a statement about their level of independence.
And you really are telling someone that they are in a position of a child in some ways when you do that. And that's the way they hear it. I've been driving for longer than you have, and I taught you to drive, and it is very, very painful. But once you've made the decision that someone should stop driving, you really have to go through with it and go forward with it, because if there is an accident and the person has a diagnosis of dementia or Alzheimer's and has been told that they shouldn't drive, then the liability is can really be awful, because you knew that someone who shouldn't be driving was let out onto the street and something bad happened. So as difficult as it is, you have to go through with it.
That's true. One of the first things you can do is check with your Department of Public Safety about how to get someone to stop driving. Here in Texas, what happens is that the Department of Public Safety, if they're told someone shouldn't be driving, they will send that person a letter and say, come in. Well, there's no one to enforce that, and so it's very difficult to just send in a letter and say, oh, this person shouldn't be driving, or if a physician sends in a letter, it doesn't go far enough. The responsibility still falls to the family or someone else to take action.
And what I will say is that you really need to start first with how you would want to be approached. You can't assume necessarily that the person you're taking the keys from is going to be resistant. Assume that they're going to be reasonable. Say, these are the reasons we need to take the keys away, or we need to stop driving, and let's plan other ways to get around. Try that. If there's a problem there, and that's usually when Dr. Godey and I get called in. We've told mom she shouldn't drive, and she insists on it, or she gets angry. That's when it's tough.
And kind of actually sort of a humorous story I always tell families is that they'll try sneaky kinds of ways to get the person to stop driving. One lady's son took the battery out of her car. Well, she just called her mechanic to come over and put a new battery in. And then he changed the locks on the doors to her car, and she just called a locksmith and said, come on, I don't know what happened, this key doesn't work. It just went on and on from there.
Dementia doesn't mean you're stupid.
That's right. And so sometimes using some sneaky methods doesn't work out the way you think it will.
It worked in The Sound of Music, but I don't know about necessarily in this situation. Sometimes it will, though. It just hiding the keys may in fact sometimes work, because depending on the level of frontal lobe impairment, there may be enough apathy that if the keys aren't right there, the person is not going to keep looking. I will tell you one thing that almost certainly doesn't work, and that is to take mom or dad to the doctor and let the doctor tell them that they shouldn't drive. Because they'll listen to you, Dr. Leatherman. Well, no, they won't.
No.
If they won't listen to a loved one, if they won't listen to the Department of Public Safety, they won't listen to the doctor, and that again is the lack of insight that we see with this illness. It's part of the illness.
I think out of the hundreds of patients I've seen, only one has actually listened to the doctor. But that person was already thinking, I wonder if I should give up driving. Well, the doctor says I should, so okay, I guess, I trust his judgment. But really, only one out of hundreds.
Right, right. So what do you do? Well, I'm not going to lie to you, it's not easy. I think some of the sneaky tricks are worth trying, and you can Google and find all kinds of ideas that people have had and give those a try. Sometimes it means just selling the car, that the car is just gone. And you have to take over the role of the frontal lobes and of being the adult in that situation.
But remember, when you take the car away or remove that source of transportation, you have got to fill that void. You may need to plan for your family member the ride to church on Sunday or to the bridge club meeting every week. You may need to do that yourself. As we said in the last section, people sometimes feel like they're being a burden on other people or imposing on other people to ask for transportation.
And it's just wrong to say, I'm going to remove your ability to drive. Now you figure out what to do.
Yeah.
Especially if somebody, again, has dementia. That's going to be very difficult. So Dr. Godey's absolutely right. You have to fill in all those blanks for them and make that transition as seamless as possible.
Now, they're not going to like this. They may not agree with it at all. They may get very angry with you. You have to take the brunt of that, unfortunately, for a little bit. And let me tell you, it's better to take the brunt of that anger than to have your loved one end up in an accident with other people hurt in addition to your loved one. That would be much worse than taking that anger when the car is gone.
There are lots of things about this illness, dementia, that are just unpleasant, unfixable, and you just can't pretend that they don't exist. And the difficulty with driving and the blame that you as sort of the enforcer are going to have to take is one of those things, and we can't sugarcoat it and make it too much easier on you.
But just remember to try to fill that void of the transportation before the car is gone, and that might help a bit.
For more answers to questions like these, our book, The Insider's Guide to Dementia Care, is available at Amazon.com.